Welcome, bronies! I thought yesterday to review quickly this episode and do one slating review finally. But as I overslept it and rewatched the episode today with a better mood, I have to evaluate my opinion on this episode right now. But first starts with the light hadn't even officially turned green at the intersection of 7th Broadway before an army of overconfident Jello Caps roared past the tiny death trap I was attempting to navigate around the city streets. We get a more or less successful Manhattan episode, which I didn't find well, but alright in the beginning. Today by On Second Look, Saddle, Row and Rack. I will start with one thing that actually pleases me: the characters and their form of humor. This episode was a lot easier to see than the last one. We see the start for Rarity for You in the great city. Every one of the main six had get her own style of trouble to deal with. And we see at the start of the episode that they didn't think to handle those problems good. The main five are rating her actions negatively in retrospect, and are telling in the interview diner scenes with their own comments many about it. The kind of storytelling had impressed me a lot. The introduction was interesting, because the story developed from the ending to the beginning. That's fascinated me as an author, and I can enjoy the new episode more today. I laughed a lot over the funny actions of the main six, although the Pinkie Pie's inner rarities are very good.
I want what Rarity wants! Keep that party going till the break of dawn! Really? Indubitably! And as for the roof, get jiggy! Raise it, Pinkie! Raise it like you've never raised it before! If you say so! Oh, please, Pinkie Pie. Never in a million years would I say such balderdash.
But more funny for me were the too many Pinkie Pies. As a reporter or as a detective, you should tell.
Yes, I know what needs to be done. I just need more of me. Oh, how I wish I could make copies of myself. Yeah, making copies of yourself always sounds like a great idea, but before you know it, you're locked in a room with 50 Pinkie Pies watching paint dry.
I laugh a lot. I mean, seriously, one of Pinkie Pie's clones had escaped, and find it funny to be at Manhattan? All of Rarity's friends are willing to change her own perspectives to her own. But this wasn't right to solve the problem. Interesting but strange for me in many sides. The side characters were good for a Manhattan episode too, but a cutie mark duplication makes it difficult not to see a few mistakes. But back to the reference. We have a tasty burger in a diner. Pulp Fiction! Yay! A camp friendship Boy Scout. And yes, a great reporter. But I like the side characters as we know them even more. Poor Coco Pomel. Even sick, she come to excuse herself and disappears shortly. Yes, and again, DJ Pon 3. Why did she appear so often? Are the writers planning to let her finally speak, or are they just trolling us? The daughter and the Russian landlord are a little out of touch for me, but not necessarily bad. Yes, a little cliché in more than one point of view, but for the great town fitting. A nice breakout for me was the intermissions in the diner, with a few critical comments for the modus operandi. It helps to create a few laughs, and provides the story with self-critical explanations from all of the main six. But even then, it supports the easiness of this episode with laughter and cameos. Right after my personal perfect episode last week, who gets me into the ultimate fanboy mode, and great praise for it. Now follows an episode funny, but nothing to hype me. Right, not every episode can be the best. I have seen the review from a more famous reviewer, Mr. Wolf, and find it intriguing that my point of view is quite so different from his. Right back to my resume. I didn't like Rarity quite much as others. Her drama and the other attitude isn't fitting to my point of view. But this episode is like Newbie Dash for me, a great show and interesting after all to look at. I think I enjoy in fact more than this episode, because the focus isn't on Rarity alone. Every one of the main 5 had her own problem and is dealing with them in her own way. First they try to act like Rarity and are showing nice insight of her, but the solution for all these problems are simply to be herself and solve the problem with yourself in charge. First I thought the episode didn't show anything to identify with it, and my first script shows just like that and criticized this with a great effort. But after one night's sleep and rewatching the episode, I have to reevaluate my point of view. It isn't the failure of the episode. I don't have anything in common with them. Now my evaluation. In character, every main 6 pony shows the usual skills and even flaws that support this, with the commentaries in the diner. These commentaries are making this episode really better and are showing interesting point of views for the characters. The characters receive 6 out of 10 points. Yes, as promised, I will increase the reach points for you. When we reach the maximum, I will improve the valuation base again. In the plot, it was a very well-known chaotic situation for an opening, with even one problem for every main character. For me, the plot is good, only for the kind of telling. The intermissions from the diner with funny or self-critical comments are great, and the script is showing through this. The author shows his good style, and I loved it. The scenery was simple for a Manhattan episode. Only the new boutique were shown, and the setting was very clear. Scenery and plot design earns 6 points out of 10. This episode changed my bad feelings about her on the second look, but she isn't more than average for me. Something is missing. Something special, but I don't know what am I missing. Not a good statement from a reviewer who's getting into a fanboy mode after an old plot and only from a musical episode, but tastes are different, right? Totally 6 out of 10 points. Please don't judge me too hard, Rarity fanboys. She isn't my favorite mare. I'm hoping my third beloved mare is... that sounds a little disturbing, isn't it? I mean, next week would be better, right? The next time by On Second Look, Applejack's Day Off. See you then. Yours truly, Redhatbrony.